Daniel and Cody snuck out of their houses around 1 a.m., as they would any other Saturday night. The three were wandering around the industrial zone of their city of Quincy, Illinois, when they stumbled upon an abandoned house. The house was about 2 stories tall and had been boarded up and locked away. The boys figured this would be a fun place to investigate, so they approached it. They found a window behind a bush that led to the basement, so Wyatt lifted it up and the three crawled in. As soon as they were in, they started having real fun, digging through the boxes left behind by the previous owners and breaking objects that didn't interest them. Wyatt opened a box marked family photos and found a picture on top of a case. It was a photo worn from years of humidity and weathering, being trapped inside the box, but the image was still clear enough to be made out. It was a picture of a 12-year-old girl with her father's hand on one shoulder and her mother's on the other, accompanied by 5 other siblings. A boy and a girl seemed to be younger than the center girl, and the remaining 2 boys and girl seemed to be in their early teens. All the others seemed to be smiling except for the girl in the center who looked sad and full of grief. It was shocking as she appeared to be deformed slightly, with scars all up and down her arms and legs, the only visible parts that weren't covered by her white Sunday dress. "Man, that chick is nasty looking," said Cody as his voice cracked, as Wyatt turned around to see his long brown hair slightly covering his eyes. Daniel came around Wyatt's other shoulder and said, "Oh bro, she's disgusting as hell." Wyatt flipped the picture over to see a small message written in pen that said, "Look at the little whore, she can't even smile around her family." Wyatt just shook his head and proceeded up the stairs with the other boys. The stairs creaked as they took each step, but none of them showed fear. It wasn't until they reached the kitchen that they started to hear a little girl crying. They stood completely still for about a minute as the cries got a little louder each second. Then, from the entryway leading the kitchen to the living room, a small girl entered, the same girl that was in the picture, and she was still crying. She turned her head and saw the boys. Then she let out a scream so loud it could have shattered the windows if they weren't already broken. Right as she let out that scream, all the walls ignited in flames and the house appeared to be intact again, but the walls were burning and they could hear an older man shouting upstairs. Cody touched the doorknob, but it burned his hand instantly on contact. They then ran upstairs to see if the older man they heard could help them. They looked down a long hallway to see all the doors closed, except for the door at the end of the hall, which was cracked open enough for them to see shadows moving in the light of the flames. They peered in to see a man in overalls and a brown pair of pants yelling at his middle-aged wife, who was in a blue dress that was worn and torn. "Damn you. That little whore is making us look like awful. I can't even go out to the town because no little brat embarrasses me." The woman cried in a high-pitched voice, "Ronnie, please, she's not like everyone else. She can't help it." "Damn you," he shouted back. "I'm killing the bitch." "Ronnie, no. Please, you're drunk," she cried. Then the man reached into a wardrobe, throwing clothes around until he found a double-barrel shotgun he had stashed away. "Ronnie, please, don't hurt her," she said in a last attempt. He walked right through the boys and opened up the door closest to the staircase, and they ran behind him. They were in a little girl's room, littered with stuffed animals, with happy drawings up and down the walls. The man pushed the little girl off her bed and she shouted, "Daddy!" He then shouted, "You've been ruining this family. I-H-A-T-E-Y-O-U. You're gonna die for the pain you put me through every goddamn day." She just sat in the corner of the room crying. Then the smoke alarms went off and fresh flames ignited through the house. The man looked confused. These were flames he could see. The whole family was now up and running around but couldn't get out. The boys could hear the sounds of the mother crying. She had locked the doors and windows and then set the oven's gas on and then lit a match in the kitchen. The man looked scared and confused. He then ran downstairs and the boys could hear him shouting at his wife, "You bitch, look what you've done." She simply sat and watched him. Then the man ran back upstairs still carrying the shotgun and pointed it back at his daughter. But before he could take the shot, a small burning board fell and hit him on the head. The little girl shrieked in fear, and soon the whole room was engulfed in flames. The boys crowded together in the corner with the girl, but as soon as the flames touched them, they were back in reality. They were in the corner of the room, but things around them had returned to how they were when they broke in. The house was abandoned again, and there was nothing but years of wear and fire damage. Wyatt looked up at the ceiling, finding a hole where the burning board fell and hit the father. They all scurried out of the corner and saw nothing but ash and dirt. They then looked at the door leading to the hall to see the little girl, but she just stared for a minute, shook her head and walked away. When they reached the hall to see her, they just saw her fade to nothing. The boys then ran out of the house and went home.